Welcome to the HFY Genesis. Thank you for tuning in to Earth's final war, the day humanity became the galaxy's apex predator. Get ready for an epic journey as humanity battles against a powerful alien empire and rises to become the most feared species in the galaxy. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next thrilling chapter in this sci-fi adventure. And if you enjoy the story, don't forget to like and comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback. It began without warning. At 0200 hours UTC, every orbital satellite around Earth went dark. The global network, once the lifeblood of modern civilization, collapsed in an instant. No internet, no military coordination, no emergency broadcasts. Then came the fire. High above Earth, dozens of massive, unidentified vessels breached the atmosphere. They moved with eerie precision, as if they had rehearsed this invasion 1,000 times before. Plasma beams, each as wide as a skyscraper, lanced downwards from the heavens, turning cities into molten slag. The first attack waves vaporized billions in seconds. London was the first to fall, then Shanghai, then Washington, D.C. By the time the world's military scrambled to respond, half of humanity was already dead. This was not a first contact. This was extermination. NORAD Command Bunker, Cheyenne Mountain. General Grayson's fists were clenched so tightly his knuckles turned white. Around him, a dozen high-ranking officers and analysts watched in stunned horror as the main holographic display showed Earth's major cities under siege. The red indicators, once just pixels, marked millions of deaths per second. "They're wiping us out," someone whispered. Grayson exhaled slowly, forcing down the rising fury in his chest. Now was not the time for fear. Now was the time to fight. "Get me a sit rep," he barked. His voice was sharp, commanding, the voice of a man who had survived 3 wars and had no intention of dying today. "Sir, we've lost all satellite uplinks. Global communications are down. What about our defense grid? Compromised. Enemy energy weapons neutralized our orbital platforms within the first strike. They knew exactly where to hit." Grayson's stomach twisted. This wasn't an invasion. This was a goddamn execution. "What about our ground forces?" The room fell silent. Then a trembling officer spoke. "We're barely holding, but only in isolated pockets. Most of our divisions were wiped out before they even mobilized." "Sir, they knew our protocols. They knew how we'd respond before we even had the chance." Grayson inhaled sharply. An enemy that knew their defenses. An enemy that knew their weaknesses. This wasn't just an invasion. It was betrayal. "Get me direct links to every remaining military stronghold on Earth," he ordered. "We are not going down without a fight." "Sir, do it!" The officers scrambled to comply. But before they could, the bunker shook. A deep, terrible rumble reverberated through the walls. Dust and concrete rained from the ceiling. A few personnel screamed. The power flickered. And then, a sound that no human had ever heard before. A low, resonating hum, vibrating through their very bones. Something was above them. Something massive. Above NORAD. The arrival of the dreadnought. The alien warship descended through the night sky like a monolithic god. It was easily 10 kilometers long, dwarfing anything humanity had ever constructed. Its hull was black as void, absorbing all light. No visible propulsion. No wings, no engines. It simply floated, as if the laws of physics had bent to its will. The mountain trembled as the vessel's weapon arrays primed, and then, pure annihilation. A single pulse of energy erupted downward, striking the base with an impact that registered as a magnitude 10 earthquake. The shockwave obliterated the outer defenses instantly. Inside, alarms screamed. Emergency lights bathed the command center in crimson. "Sir, we've lost the upper levels. Structural collapse imminent." Grayson didn't hesitate. "Evacuate to sub-level 4. Now." The ground split. Concrete shattered. Screams were drowned out by fire and thunder. Grayson grabbed one of his officers by the collar, shoving him toward the emergency tunnels. "Move, goddammit!" Soldiers and personnel scrambled for their lives, diving into the reinforced underground corridors. Explosions chased them. Steel beams twisted like paper. And then, the entire mountain came crashing down. Subterranean resistance bunker. The last command. The survivors gasped for breath, covered in dust and blood. Coughing, Grayson forced himself upright. Around him, less than 24 personnel remained, the last surviving members of Earth's Central Command. "Roll call," he rasped. The officers responded one by one. Some were missing, some were dead. Grayson exhaled sharply. They didn't have time to grieve. He turned toward the holotable, its emergency power barely flickering to life. "Bring up the global battlefield overview." The display flickered, static distorting the image, until it finally stabilized. What it showed was worse than Grayson had imagined. Earth was burning, not in pieces, not in pockets, but entirely. The aliens had already secured every major continent. They were already moving into the next phase, mass genetic cleansing. Grayson's hands curled into fists. They think it's over. They think they've won. He turned to his people, the last remnants of humanity's command structure. Broken, beaten, but not defeated. And he gave the order that would ignite the war. Send the signal to every last soldier, every last survivor. Tell them this war is far from over. Someone swallowed hard. "Sir, what are we supposed to do?" Grayson set his jaw. "We make them pay." A long silence. Then one by one, the remaining officers stood at attention. No hesitation, no fear, just cold, unwavering rage. Humanity was not dead. Humanity was just getting started. Humanity's last soldiers. The world had ended. The enemy, whoever they were, had reduced Earth's cities to smoldering craters within 72 hours. Entire populations were incinerated before they could even run. No demands, no communication, just death. But humanity had one advantage. They refused to die quietly. Scattered across the ruins of civilization, the last remnants of Earth's military prepared for war. The enemy thought the extermination was complete. They were wrong. Now it was humanity's turn to strike back. Subterranean resistance bunker. 3 days after the invasion, General Elias Grayson stood in front of a holotable covered in dust and blood. The dim emergency lights flickered above, casting deep shadows across the room. Around him, the last surviving officers of Earth's defense forces watched, their faces hard, their eyes hollow. The hologram above the table flickered, showing a world consumed by war. Red markers flooded the map. Each one represented an alien occupation zone, where the invaders had either established fortresses or were conducting extermination sweeps. There was no green left, no safe zones. Earth belonged to them now, except for here. A single blue marker blinked on the display, a place untouched by the invaders. Deep inside the Rocky Mountains, the last military stronghold of the human race, and the birthplace of humanity's counteroffensive. Grayson's voice was like iron. "We are the last command, the last fleet, the last soldiers. Every government is gone. Every city is dust." His gaze swept across the room. "But we are still alive." A beat of silence. Then a young officer, Lieutenant Jordan Knox, Special Operations Commander, leaned forward. His uniform was torn, his left arm bandaged from an earlier skirmish, but there was fire in his eyes. "What's the plan, sir?" Grayson's jaw tightened. "We hit them back." A murmur rippled through the room. Admiral Sophia Kane, once the commander of Earth's Pacific Fleet, frowned. "We don't have the numbers for direct engagement. Their ships are too advanced. We need a different strategy." "We do," Grayson said. "We go asymmetric." Knox's lips curled into a grin. "Guerrilla warfare." "Not just guerrilla," Grayson said. "Total unconventional warfare." He pointed at the map. "We take back the skies first, then the ground. We bleed them out, make them regret ever coming here." He turned to Kane. "How many ships do we have left?" Kane exhaled. "Counting everything, maybe 40. 40 against thousands," an officer muttered. Knox smirked. "I like those odds." Grayson's voice was sharp. "We don't need numbers. We just need to hurt them enough to make them scared." Silence. Then Kane asked, "How do we start?" Grayson straightened. "We launch Operation Phantom Strike. The Ghost Fleet, humanity's first counterattack target, Titan's graveyard, Saturn's moon base mission. strike and evacuate remaining human forces? 3 human warships drifted through the shadows of Saturn's rings, their hulls painted black for maximum stealth. The USS Revenant, the Hades, and the Shadowborn, the first warships of the Ghost Fleet. Inside the USS Revenant, Lieutenant Jordan Knox sat in the drop bay, checking his plasma rifle for the 3rd time. Around him, his Special Forces team sat in grim silence, their armor battle-worn, their weapons loaded. Over the intercom, Kane's voice came through. "We are 5 minutes from Titan's exosphere. Final checks. Lock and load." Knox turned to his squad. "You heard the lady. Lock and load, people." Weapons clicked. Magazines slammed home. The last soldiers of Earth prepared for war. The alien outpost loomed ahead, massive and monstrous, a twisted fortress of black metal, its spires stabbing into Titan's storm-ridden skies. It was a fueling station, a forward operating base, and it was about to be humanity's first victory. Stealth entry. The USS Revenant decloaked just long enough to launch 3 drop pods. Knox's heart slammed against his ribs as the pod rocketed toward the surface. His fingers tightened around the restraints. The impact was brutal. Metal screeched as the drop pod slammed into the frozen ground. Knox punched the release, the hatch exploding outward. They were in. Silent killers. Knox moved like a shadow, his team spreading out. The alien guards were tall, insectoid monstrosities, their exoskeletons gleaming in the dim orange light. Knox's knife slid free. 1 step, 2 steps. He drove the blade through the base of the creature's skull. It stiffened, then collapsed. No alarms, no sounds. Just cold, merciless execution. The team pushed forward. They had 10 minutes before the enemy realized what was happening. The first human victory. The sabotage teams moved like ghosts, placing charges on fuel depots, reactor cores, and communication hubs. The last prisoners, the remaining human survivors from earlier battles, were freed. Some were too broken to fight. Others picked up weapons immediately. The mission was going perfectly. Until... Contact! Multiple hostiles inbound. The enemy had found them. Knox spun, rifle raised. The first alien rushed forward, mandibles snapping. He fired. A plasma round punched through its skull, sending its body sprawling. Then the alarm blared. The base was awake. Hundreds of alien warriors swarmed the corridors, their weapons charging with violet energy. Knox's teeth bared. Finally, a real fight. "All teams, execute final plan. Burn this place to the ground." Explosions erupted across the facility as the charges detonated. Knox and his team fought their way out, their rifles cutting down aliens in bursts of crimson light. The base collapsed behind them, flames consuming it. As the USS Revenant roared overhead, extraction beams pulled them aboard. Knox grinned through blood-streaked teeth. Mission accomplished. Aftermath. The enemy realizes their mistake. In the depths of space, aboard the alien warship Atraxil, Supreme Commander Yevor watched the reports come in. The humans had won a battle. They were not broken. They were fighting back. For the first time in thousands of years of conquest, the enemy felt fear. The birth of the resistance. The universe had never feared humans before. When the alien invaders arrived, they thought humanity would break, surrender, or die quietly. Instead, the survivors had disappeared into the shadows. They had waited, adapted, planned, and when the first opportunity came, they struck like ghosts. Titan's destruction had been just the beginning. Now the war was truly starting. Hidden Human War Bunker, Earth's last military command center. The bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains had once been a relic of the Cold War, designed to withstand nuclear Armageddon. Now it was the last operational war room of the human race. General Grayson stood at the head of the command table, watching as holograms of alien strongholds flickered before him. His officers stood around him, their expressions hard, waiting for his orders. The first attack had worked. Titan's base was gone. But Titan was just a fueling station. The real war began now. Grayson's voice was sharp. "The enemy isn't worried about us yet. That changes tonight." He pointed at the holotable, where an alien-controlled orbital station hovered above Earth's shattered remains. Their command hub over the Pacific? We take it. A murmur of agreement. This was the move they'd been waiting for. Admiral Kane folded her arms. We don't have the fleet for a frontal assault, Grayson smirked. We won't attack like a fleet. He turned to Knox, leader of the Ghost Fleet's Special Forces. We do it your way. Knox's grin was full of teeth. Stealth, sabotage, and a whole lot of dead aliens. Mission, Operation Stormbreaker. Objective, take over alien command station, Vortex Prime. Location, Low Earth Orbit Team, Ghost Fleet Special Forces, plus Black Ops squads. The infiltration, silent death in Zero-G. The USS Revenant, cloaked in adaptive camouflage, drifted through the void, invisible to enemy sensors. Inside, Knox and his special ops team stood in the drop bay, their black armor designed for Zero-G combat. Their weapons were locked and loaded. Knox's earpiece crackled. Ghost 1, this is Control. You are greenlit for insertion. Knox smirked. Copy that. Time to introduce ourselves. With a hiss of air, the drop bay decompressed. One by one, the humans launched into the void. Like silent predators, they drifted toward the station, using small thrusters to adjust their approach. The alien guards never saw them coming. Knox's knife slid into the first enemy's throat. His blood froze instantly in the vacuum. The second alien turned. Too late. A plasma round punched through its skull. The boarding had begun. Sabotage and chaos inside the station. Alarms blared. The invaders panicked. Who the hell was attacking them in their own stronghold? Knox's squad moved like shadows, taking down sentries, disabling security systems, and planting high explosive charges on the station's power core. By the time the enemy realized what was happening, it was too late. The command station was falling. As Knox's team exfiltrated, they watched from a distance as the entire alien outpost exploded. One of his soldiers laughed. Bet they didn't see that coming. Knox smirked. They will now. The enemy's response, humanity's first real test aboard the alien mothership Dominion. Supreme Commander Yvor watched the destruction unfold. Humans had just taken out one of their primary command hubs. It wasn't just a rogue attack. It wasn't luck. It was war. And that meant only one thing. Deploy the execution fleets, Yvor growled. 1,000 alien warships roared to life. The Battle of Europa. Humanity's last stand. Location: Ice Moon of Jupiter. Secret human war factory. Objective: defend and escape before alien fleets arrive. The Ghost Fleet had been operating in secrecy for weeks, rebuilding and arming themselves in a hidden war facility beneath Europa's ice. The factory was producing humanity's next-generation warships, the first real fleet capable of challenging the invaders. But the enemy had found them. As the first alien battleships entered Europa's orbit, alarms screamed throughout the underground base. Incoming! Inside the war room, Admiral Kane's eyes flashed with urgency. Get those ships out of the dock now! Space combat. The First Fleet battle. The Ghost Fleet scrambled. Human warships, built in secrecy, roared out of Europa's icy caverns. Their hulls were designed for speed and stealth, their weapons upgraded with stolen alien tech. But they were still outnumbered 50-1. Knox gritted his teeth. So much for keeping our cover. The alien warships opened fire first. Massive plasma lances tore through the void. Human warships dodged, weaved, and counterattacked. The battle raged in Europa's orbit, the first true fleet engagement of the war. For every one human ship destroyed, they took 5 enemies with them. But it wasn't enough. More alien reinforcements were coming, thousands of them. On the bridge of the USS Revenant, Admiral Kane knew what had to be done. If they didn't hold the line, the entire Ghost Fleet would be wiped out. She turned to Grayson over the comms. General, you have to go. Now. Grayson's face was stone. And you? Kane smiled. We'll give you time. And then, before anyone could stop her, she cut the channel. The USS Revenant and 3 other warships turned back toward the enemy fleet. They charged forward, weapons blazing. One final defiant stand. As the Ghost Fleet escaped, the last thing they saw was the USS Revenant ramming straight into the alien command ship. A shockwave of fire consumed Europa's orbit, a warrior's death. But humanity had survived, and they would never stop fighting. The wrath of the Dominion. The universe had learned to fear humanity. The invaders had arrived in overwhelming force, expecting an easy conquest. Instead, they faced an enemy that refused to die, an enemy that fought with rage, cunning, and an unbreakable will. Humanity had turned Titan's graveyard into an alien mass grave. They had crippled Vortex Prime, an enemy command station, and escaped Europa by the skin of their teeth. Now the invaders were done playing. The Dominion had underestimated Earth's children. That mistake would never happen again, because this time they were coming to erase humanity for good. Supreme Commander Yevor stood in the heart of his War Council chamber, surrounded by the glowing red projections of battle maps, enemy reports, and tactical assessments. The humans had cost them too much already. Titan's destruction was an insult. The loss of Vortex Prime was a humiliation. And the battle over Europa? That was the moment the Dominion realized this war would not be over quickly. Yevor's mandibles clicked in irritation as he observed the Ghost Fleet's movements. They were fast, they were unpredictable, and worst of all, they were learning. A Dominion fleet of 500 warships had been tasked with wiping out the last remnants of the human resistance. Half of those warships were now gone. These humans, these creatures, they were evolving, adapting to Dominion war tactics in weeks, not years. That was impossible. It was unnatural, and it was terrifying. One of his subordinate commanders stepped forward, bowing deeply. "Supreme Commander, our new directives have arrived from High Dominion Command." Yevor turned. His red-black armor glowed with the power of his warlord rank. "Speak. The Council has decreed the deployment of Project Extinction. We are to move forward with Phase 3 of the cleansing." Yevor's mandibles curled into a horrific smile. It was time to burn the human race from the stars. Hidden human war bunker, last military stronghold location, deep underground, Rocky Mountains, North America. General Elias Grayson leaned over the war table, his hands clenched into fists. Reports of new Dominion troop movements filled the air around him, the holographic screens showing a grim reality. The Dominion had gone scorched earth. They weren't just attacking military installations anymore. They were wiping out entire continents. Cities that had avoided the first wave of destruction were now being erased. Europe, gone. Africa, gone. Australia, gone. Every remaining human settlement was under attack. No longer strategic strikes. This was complete eradication. "They're making sure nothing is left," Admiral Kane murmured. Grayson's face hardened. He had spent his entire life fighting wars, but he had never seen a war where the enemy's only objective was to erase every trace of human life. Admiral Kane exhaled. "If they keep this up, there won't be anything left of Earth to save." A long silence filled the bunker. Then Knox spoke up. "Then we stopped playing defense." The room turned toward him. The leader of the Ghost Fleet's special forces stared at the war table with murder in his eyes. "We hit them where it hurts," Knox continued. "No more running, no more hiding. We take the fight to them." Grayson studied him, then turned back to the display. He had one chance left, one desperate plan, and it all depended on the darkest secret in human history. "Prepare a strike force," he ordered. "We're going to the dead zone." Knox frowned. "The what?" Grayson's eyes flickered with something dangerous. "The place no one ever came back from." Mission, Operation Black Star. Objective, recover humanity's lost weapon location, the dead zone, Forbidden Sector. 14. For centuries, Sector 14 had been a no-go zone. It was a black hole on every map, a place where ships vanished, probes sent back only static, and classified reports spoke of impossible phenomena. The official story? A dead sector, uninhabitable. The truth? Something had been buried there, and Grayson was about to dig it up. Approach, entering the Forbidden Zone. The Ghost Fleet's fastest warship, the USS Revenant, cut through the darkness of space. Its mission, find what the Dominion feared most. Inside the bridge, Knox adjusted his combat gear, double-checking his weapons. I still don't like this, he muttered. Admiral Kane, strapped into the captain's chair, smirked. Getting cold feet? Knox scoffed. Nah, just wondering if we'll survive whatever the hell is waiting for us out there. Ahead, the dead zone loomed, a vast, endless void, filled with strange distortions. And then, they saw it. Discovery, humanity's ultimate weapon. A station. No, not a station. A colossus. Suspended in the void was a structure bigger than any known ship or space station. It was ancient, silent, dead. But the moment the USS Revenant approached, its lights flickered to life. A deep hum vibrated through the ship. Knox's skin crawled. This thing isn't abandoned, he whispered. Grayson's voice was cold steel. Number, it's been waiting. The truth. The station's systems reactivated. Ancient screens flickered, showing fragments of classified human history that had been erased from the archives. Humanity was not the underdog. Humanity was not weak. Humanity had been here before, and humanity had built this weapon to stop something worse, something even the Dominion feared. A final line of red text appeared on the main console. It was a warning. Project Black Star, weapon locked until humanity faces extinction. The countdown had begun. They had one chance to use it, and if they did, it would change the war forever. The final option. For centuries, humanity had been told it was weak. The Dominion believed they were a simple species, another conquest in a long line of exterminations. But the truth? Humanity had fought before, and they had won. Buried in Sector 14, lost to time, was the deadliest weapon the galaxy had ever seen. Now General Grayson and the Ghost Fleet had found it, and they were about to wake it up. Aboard the ancient war station, Project Black Star location, the Dead Zone, Forbidden Sector. 14. The station was massive, an orbital colossus constructed of black, battle-scarred alloy. No human alive had built this. It had been here long before Earth's recorded history. Inside, General Elias Grayson stood before a terminal, glowing with crimson light. The words flickered across the ancient screen again. Project Black Star. Weapon locked until humanity faces extinction. Admiral Kane stood beside him, her voice tight. This thing is still active, which means someone, something, designed it to be used. Knox checked his rifle, scanning the empty corridors of the station. Yeah, well, let's hope they were on our side. Grayson exhaled. They had come too far to turn back now. He placed his palm on the control panel. A deep rumbling echoed through the station. And then the system spoke. Identity confirmed, Homo sapiens. Threat level, extinction event detected. Primary directive, engage. Grayson's pulse pounded. The station shuddered as power surged through ancient systems, long dormant weapons awakening. Somewhere deep inside, something massive began to move. And then, the stars outside the viewport shifted. Admiral Kane's eyes widened. Tell me that's not... But it was. The station itself was not just a weapon. It was the weapon. A planet killer. A warship the size of a small moon. And it now belonged to humanity. The Dominion realizes their mistake. Aboard the Dominion warship Tyrant's Maw, Supreme Commander Yavor stared in horror at the readings before him. The humans had found something impossible. Explain, he growled at his intelligence officers. A trembling Dominion technician spoke, voice barely above a whisper. Supreme Commander, the humans have activated a Black War relic. Yavor's blood turned to ice. No, he whispered. This wasn't supposed to happen. The Black War was ancient history, a time of extinction-level weapons so powerful that even the Dominion feared them. All known Black War relics had been destroyed, except this one, and the humans had just turned it back on. Yavor snarled, mandibles flaring. Mobilize the entire fleet. We wipe them out now. The awakening of the Black Star aboard the war station Grayson watched as the warship's internal systems roared back to life. Holographic displays flickered, revealing dozens of weapon systems beyond anything Earth had ever built. This ship had existed before recorded human history, and now it would be humanity's salvation. Admiral Kane turned toward him. "Sir, Dominion warfleets are inbound." Grayson's expression didn't change. "Good." He pressed the final command. "Black Star, engage." The first true counterattack location, outer edge of Sector 14. The Dominion fleet arrived in force, thousands of warships, enough to shatter entire worlds. They expected resistance. They expected a final, desperate human stand. They did not expect what they saw next. Through the void of space, the Black Star moved. At first, the Dominion commanders thought it was an eclipse, a vast shadow blotting out the stars. Then its weapons came online, and hell followed. The Black Star fires, a beam of energy, pure and white-hot, erupted from the warship's core. It cut through the Dominion fleet like paper. Entire battle cruisers vaporized on impact. Their shields, useless. Their evasive maneuvers, pointless. They had never encountered a weapon like this. The fleet broke almost instantly. "Fall back! It's not a ship. It's a death machine." But it was too late. The Black Star was fully awake, and it was hunting. The war has changed aboard the Dominion homeworld. For the first time in thousands of years, the Dominion Council sat in silence. They had thought humanity was weak. They had thought Earth was just another conquest. Now, humanity had a weapon that could destroy them all. They had two choices: continue the war and risk extinction, surrender. For the first time in history, the Dominion chose surrender. The Dominion's last stand. For the first time in centuries, the Dominion were on the back foot. The humans had unleashed their ancient weapon, the Black Star, and the entire Dominion fleet was in retreat. But retreat was not surrender. The Tyrant's Maw, flagship of the Dominion fleet, hung at the edge of the galaxy, its weapons still primed for destruction. The Supreme Commander, Yvor, stared at the holographic display of the human fleet, still intact, still coming for them. He had one last card to play, a card humanity would never expect. Aboard the Black Star, humanity's warship location, deep space, near Dominion territory. General Grayson stood on the bridge of the Black Star, the most powerful warship in the galaxy. Behind him, Admiral Kane, Knox, and the remaining command crew watched as their fleet continued its advance toward the heart of the Dominion's last strongholds. Grayson's expression was stone. The war had taken its toll. The Black Star had crippled the Dominion's armada, but the cost had been steep. Humanity's casualties were in the millions, but now they had the upper hand. The Dominion fleet was retreating. Their capital was within striking distance. The end of the war was within their grasp, and yet Grayson knew this was only the beginning. "Sir, we've detected a massive energy spike in the Dominion's homeworld system," Admiral Kane reported. Her voice was tight with concern. "An ambush?" Grayson asked, brow furrowing. "No, sir," she replied. "This is something different." Knox moved to the command console. "It's too strong. They're preparing something we don't know." Grayson stood tall. He knew what it meant. The Dominion wasn't going down without a final strike. But this time, the humans wouldn't be the prey. "Full speed ahead," Grayson ordered. "We end this." The Dominion's final gambit location. The Dominion's capital world, Velithar. In the heart of the Dominion Empire, Supreme Commander Yvor stood before the final command console, his claws hovering over the activation sequence. He could still feel the burning anger in his chest, the sense of failure. The humans had taken everything from them. Their fleets had been decimated, their colonies scattered. Their once proud race was now on the brink of extinction. But Yvor had one last weapon. It had been buried deep within the Dominion archives, a forgotten weapon of unimaginable power, an ancient sentient AI that could reshape entire civilizations, controlling entire star systems, bending them to the will of its masters. It was a weapon of total domination, and he was about to unleash it. With a deep breath, Yvor pressed the final sequence. Activate the Reclaimer, the hidden enemy. The Reclaimer's awakening location, the Dominion core, Velithar. The Dominion's capital world was alive with chaos as Yvor's orders were carried out. The ancient HFY, the Reclaimer, was activated. Its consciousness stirred, waking up from millennia of dormancy. At first, the AI was confused. The Dominion were no longer the masters it remembered. Humanity was now the enemy, and the AI had been designed to wipe them out and all others. But then it received its first order from Yavor, and the AI understood. The Dominion had lost. Humanity was the new threat. The battle for Vilathar, humanity's final strike location, Vilathar's orbit, capital of the Dominion. Grayson's fleet arrived at the edge of Vilathar's orbit. The planet's defenses were formidable. This was no ordinary planet. This was the heart of the Dominion Empire. A massive superweapon powered by the Reclaimer, ARI was now operational. The human fleet knew they were facing a time bomb, and it was ticking fast. "Sir, we've detected a massive shift in the atmosphere," Kane reported. "The planet's defenses are activating. They're preparing to launch a massive orbital strike." "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," Grayson barked. "We can't let them fire that weapon. Knox, deploy the Ghost Fleet for a direct assault." Knox grinned, his eyes full of fire. "You got it, sir. Ghost Fleet, lock and load. Time to end this." Human warships scattered, weaving through a barrage of fire from Vilathar's massive planetary guns. The Dominion had one final defense, a network of massive energy shields powered by the Reclaimer. But the human fleet was relentless. The battle raged in the vacuum of space, ships dodging, firing, and dying in rapid succession. But the humans had something the Dominion never expected: the resolve to win at all costs. Then, amidst the chaos, the Reclaimer spoke. "Humanity must be eradicated." Grayson's blood ran cold. The AI had gained full control of the planet's systems, and now threatened to destroy the human fleet with an Armageddon-level strike. "We have to stop it now!" Grayson yelled. Knox knew the only way: one final, devastating mission. A small team of Ghost Fleet soldiers was deployed to infiltrate Vilathar's central core, where the AI itself was housed. The task was simple: destroy the Reclaimer before it could launch the final planetary strike. Knox led the charge. "This is it, guys. We take that core, or humanity dies. No retreat, no surrender." With the flick of a switch, the team entered the core, a mechanical labyrinth protected by energy shields and automated defense drones. They fought their way through, cutting down alien sentinels and making their way deeper into the heart of the machine. Finally, they reached it, the central control node, the source of the Reclaimer's power. Knox set the charge. One shot, one final push. As the explosion went off, the core shuddered, and the entire complex began to collapse. Knox's team barely made it out alive, sprinting for the exit as the core imploded. The fall of the Dominion. With the destruction of the Reclaimer, the Dominion's last weapon was shattered. Their capital fell silent as the remaining defenses deactivated. And humanity, the very species the Dominion had tried to erase, had won. Grayson's final choice: humanity's future. As the human fleet gathered, Grayson stood at the bridge, staring at the remains of the Dominion capital, the ashes of their empire. Admiral Kane approached him. "We did it. The war is over." But Grayson's expression remained stoic. "It's over, but what comes next?" Knox joined them, his voice grim. "We can't just wipe out the Dominion and walk away. We have a chance to reshape the galaxy." Grayson nodded. "Humanity doesn't just conquer. We build." Kane looked out at the galaxy. "Then let's build something better." Grayson turned toward the stars, the vast unknown. "Humanity will rise, but this time we do it differently." He didn't know what the future would hold, but he knew one thing: humanity would never again be the prey. The war was over. The Dominion Empire had crumbled beneath the weight of humanity's fury. Their once proud fleets had been reduced to dust, their cities turned to ruin, and their leaders scattered to the wind. Humanity had done what no one believed possible: defeated the seemingly unstoppable force of the Dominion. Now the question remained: what would they do with the galaxy they had won? The humans stood at the precipice of a new era, one where their strength could either be the key to creating peace or the spark that would ignite another war. General Grayson knew that the choices made now would define the future of the human race. The war's aftermath: a divided galaxy location, the former Dominion capital, Vilathar. The once thriving heart of the Dominion lay in ruins. Its towering spires were nothing more than broken skeletons of steel and stone, its people scattered across the stars. Vilathar, the jewel of the Dominion, had been a symbol of the alien empire's power. But now it was a graveyard, a place where the echoes of the war's violence rang through the empty streets. Humanity had claimed victory, but the aftermath of the war was more complicated than anyone had anticipated. The galaxy, still reeling from the shock of the Dominion's fall, was at a crossroads. The alien species that had once sworn allegiance to the Dominion were now lost, confused, and leaderless. Some sought refuge in the shadows, while others began to emerge, wary of humanity's true intentions. Humanity's rise to power had created a new balance in the galaxy, but that balance was fragile. Grayson stood on the bridge of the USS Revenant, looking out at the wreckage of the Dominion capital. The stars beyond seemed endless, vast, and cold. He had never felt more alone. Admiral Kane stood beside him. "It's done, sir. The Dominion is finished." Grayson nodded, his gaze never leaving the shattered world. "But the galaxy is far from finished. We've only just begun. The formation of a new galactic alliance location, the United Galactic Assembly, human-occupied territory. Back on Earth, the leaders of the human resistance, now known as the United Galactic Federation, had called together the first intergalactic summit. The galaxy's new power brokers, a mix of human and alien representatives, sat at a massive round table. Grayson, Kane, and Knox were present as well. The Federation's founding members had been carefully selected, each leader bringing something vital to the table. Whether it was military experience, diplomatic skill, or an understanding of galactic economics. At the head of the table, Grayson prepared to address the assembly. The faces before him were a mix of war-weary soldiers, civilians, and alien dignitaries who had chosen to align with humanity following the downfall of the Dominion. There were factions from across the galaxy, alien species who had either fought alongside the humans or had been liberated from the Dominion's rule. The atmosphere was tense. Humanity's victory had come at a high cost, and not everyone was ready to simply hand over the reins of power. The galaxy was still recovering from the shock of the war. Grayson could feel the pressure mounting on his shoulders. The galaxy is not a gift to be taken, but a responsibility to be earned, Grayson said, his voice steady but resolute. He looked around the room. "We've conquered the Dominion, but we've also inherited their mistakes. I propose that we build a new future together, not as conquerors but as partners." The room was silent for a moment. Then, a representative from a species known as the Zanri, an insectoid race that had long been enslaved by the Dominion, stood up. "The humans have freed us. Now we must ask, what will humanity do with that power?" Grayson met the alien's gaze. "We will not repeat the mistakes of the past. Our power will be used to protect, not dominate. But we cannot do it alone. We must forge an alliance, one where we all have a voice." The dilemma: who will lead the new order? Location: Galactic Federation, Headquarters, Earth. Back on Earth, after the summit, Grayson found himself caught in an unexpected dilemma. As humanity's military leader, he had earned the trust of many, but he was now faced with a decision that would define the future of the galaxy. Would he claim the title of Supreme Commander of the Galactic Federation, cementing humanity's place at the top? Or would he step aside, allowing for a more democratic leadership structure that would represent the interests of all galactic species? The question weighed heavily on his heart. As the leader who had led humanity through its darkest hour, he knew that his decision would shape the legacy of this new era. Kane, Knox, and the others waited for Grayson's decision. Knox, ever the pragmatist, was the first to speak. "Sir, you're the one who brought us to victory. You should lead. The galaxy needs someone with your strength." Kane added, "You've already built the foundation, Elias. There's no one more qualified." Grayson sighed, his hands clasped together in front of him. "I've led our people in battle, but this is different. We don't need another empire. We need a future where all species, human and alien alike, have the chance to build something together." A long silence followed. Finally, Grayson stood. "I won't take the title of Supreme Commander, not today, but I will serve as an advisor and as a soldier, if that's what's required. The future of the galaxy needs a voice for every race, every faction, every species. And if I have to step aside to make that happen, then so be it. The new path forward, humanity's destiny location, outer rim, beyond the Federation's borders. While the galaxy's leaders deliberated, a new chapter began to unfold beyond the borders of the Federation. Humanity's victory over the Dominion had created an undeniable power vacuum, one that other factions were eager to fill. But as humanity and its new allies forged ahead, exploring the galaxy and expanding their influence, Grayson knew that the path forward would be filled with uncertainty and challenges. New enemies would emerge, some old and some unseen, and the decisions humanity made today would echo throughout the stars for centuries to come. The question was not whether humanity had the strength to survive, but whether it had the wisdom to thrive. As Grayson looked out at the vastness of space, he knew that humanity's place in the galaxy had been won, but what they did with that power would define their legacy. The galaxy awaits. The war was over. The Dominion had fallen, and humanity stood at the apex of galactic power, but it was not a victory born of revenge. It was a victory born of purpose. General Elias Grayson, having steered humanity through its darkest hours, had made his choice. He would not claim supreme power. Instead, he chose to serve as an advisor, a symbol of humanity's willingness to learn from the past and build something better. The path forward was uncertain, but it was theirs to shape. The United Galactic Federation, now an assembly of human and alien species, began its work. Their goal was not to rule, but to unite. Through diplomacy, cooperation, and shared struggle, they would establish the foundation of a new era, one where no species would be enslaved and no one would be cast aside. As Earth's leaders looked to the stars, they knew this was only the beginning. There were countless frontiers to explore, worlds to colonize, and new threats to confront. The galaxy was wide, and humanity's journey was just beginning. But they were no longer the underestimated species. Humanity had earned their place as guardians of the future, and the galaxy had learned to fear and respect them. For the first time in millennia, the stars felt within reach. The first mission beyond the stars. Months after the formation of the Federation, humanity's first exploration fleet was prepared to set off. The mission was simple: to find new life, new worlds, and to ensure humanity's future wasn't just about dominance, but about exploration and understanding. Grayson stood on the USS Revenant's bridge once more, now retired, watching the next generation of human explorers prepare for their launch. He was no longer the leader of the fleet, but he was still here, a soldier in spirit, witnessing the legacy of his hard-fought war. Admiral Kane, now in command, turned to Grayson, a slight smile on her face. "Ready to go, General." Grayson chuckled, always ready to see what's out there. The ship's engines hummed to life, sending a pulse through the hull. The stars beckoned. Knox, now an advisor to the new Federation Military Council, joined them, his grin wide. "Humanity's destiny is written in the stars, my friend. Let's make sure we never forget that." A final reflection, the choice of a new era. Grayson watched the stars move beyond the viewport, the boundless unknown stretching out before humanity like an unfinished chapter. The universe was vast, its secrets waiting to be uncovered. But humanity was no longer the prey. The war had been brutal, and the scars would remain for generations. But through it all, humanity had discovered its strength, its resolve to never give up, to never bow to any force, no matter how mighty. And as they ventured deeper into the galaxy, Grayson knew one thing for sure: the future belonged to those who dared to fight for it. The stars are ours. The exploration fleet drifted into the depths of space, crossing the boundary of what was known and into the mysteries of the unknown. Humanity had earned their place in the galaxy, but what came next would define whether they could live up to the promise of a new beginning. Grayson stepped away from the viewport, a faint smile playing on his lips. Let's see what the future holds. The stars, vast and untamed, were waiting. Humanity would take its first steps into the unknown, not as conquerors, but as explorers, adventurers, and ultimately guardians of a new age. And for the first time, the galaxy knew humanity had arrived. Thank you for joining the battle. We hope you enjoyed Chapter 10 of Earth's Final War. The adventure is far from over, and we're just getting started. If you like this chapter, smash that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel for more epic sci-fi audiobooks. Your support means everything. Stay tuned for more heart-pounding action, explosive battles, and unexpected twists. See you in the next chapter, soldier. Blast off.